Hey there, Derek Rydall here, founder of the Law of Emergence and author of the best-selling books Emergence and the Abundance Project. And it's great to be with you again now as we talk about how to claim or reclaim our divine inheritance. And the divine inheritance is that which we brought with us, that which is innately and infinitely and eternally within us. It's who and what we really are. The great promise of all the great scriptures of the world, the great master teachings, that within us is everything that we could ever need, want, or hope for to truly be all that we were meant to be. The love, the peace, the joy, the beauty, the abundance, the health, the wealth, the wisdom, that everything has been given to us. Just like everything that is necessary for a seed to grow in nature, it's in the seed and it's in the soil and it's in the field. And when that seed has the right conditions, it receives everything it needs to become all that it was meant to be. The divine inheritance is already here. But the question is, how do we claim it? How do we get access to it? How do we unlock it? And especially, how do we do that in the midst of crisis, in the midst of challenge, in the midst of loss, in the midst of chaos and turbulence, such as is being experienced on a global level right now? But it's always being experienced in parts of the world, and it's always being experienced in parts of our lives. So a situation where it's extreme like this right now, with a global pandemic and a global economic crisis, is that it doesn't really give us many places to escape. It doesn't really give us many places to hide, because it affects all of us. And it also is so important because it creates a critical mass in the collective consciousness where both the tension of the lack of control and the tension of the fear of the future and the loss of the past is higher than ever. So it creates a pressure on many of us. And also the intention for liberation and growth, expansion, and healing is greater than ever before, so the veil is thin. We have greater access to divine wisdom, to the deepest collective wisdom. If you don't like the word God or divine, just think of the deepest collective wisdom, the deep Platonic forms and ideas that are inherent in evolution. All of that is available to us right now. There's an increased pressure and there's an increased energy of expansion, and many of us are facing specific and individual challenges and crises, as I have been talking about recently and have just recently come back to speak to you about. I went through a great tragedy. I'm still experiencing the tragedy of the loss of my son, the love of my life, the light of my life, my precious boy. It's, if you haven't experienced it, there's no way to describe it in a way that you can understand it. And I do not wish it upon anybody, but I've only described it as having my soul ripped out through my heart, piece by piece, and then just scattered to the wind. And that doesn't even describe it. The agony, the pain, the lack of control, the powerlessness, the helplessness, the hopelessness, the utter disintegration of a whole idea of my life, myself, and of life itself. And so that's what I've been going through. What have you been going through? That's my day. And I say that, with some bubbling of joy. I guess it's a little gallows humor. But the only reason I'm able to speak and to speak from my heart and to speak with an open, undefended heart is because of what I want to talk to you about today, and what I've been talking to you about recently is the way to be with crisis, challenge, loss, both personally, in relationship, in your family, in your community, and in the world. And how to be with it so that on the other side of it, you don't become more bitter, more scared, more resentful, more broken and broken down. Your channels don't shrink and become calcified so that less life can move through you, and you end up stagnating in your life, or parts of your life become a swamp. We want to not go that direction, but without an understanding of what's happening and an understanding of how to be with our fears, doubts, challenges, losses, crises, and pain, that's often what occurs. There's a breakdown, there's a shutdown, there's a closing down, there's a shrinking of our capacity, and now less life can move through us. Less love, less joy, less peace, less inspired ideas, less creativity. And the result is our life isn't blossoming. And when a branch stops blooming, what happens? It gets pruned. As the Gospel of Thomas says, if you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. Meaning the life force can't get out, so it wreaks havoc. It becomes destructive. But if you bring forth what is within you, what you do bring forth will save you. Because that means you're letting life flow through you. You're remaining an open vessel and an open channel and an open branch of the tree of life for life to keep being life, to keep circulating, to keep growing itself and manifesting its glory through you as the unique fruits of your branch or tree, as the unique blueprint of your existence. And those are only two choices: to choose life and let life live you and love you and support you and fulfill itself as you, according to your unique pattern, or choose not life, meaning to close up, shut down, protect, save, hold on. You shrink, you stagnate, the flow of life becomes a dribble and a trickle and then a swamp, and then death ensues, whether it's literal death or the death of parts of you, the stagnation and diminishment. And you may be walking around looking like you're alive, but you really are a zombie. Your relationship has become a zombie. Your work has become a zombie. Your body is becoming zombified. Your creative love is zombified. That's why we have so many zombie movies and TV shows. It's a metaphor for what's happened and what happens as a culture moves into decadence or decadence, because it stopped serving life. It stopped serving the source of life itself, and it's instead only worshiping the forms of life and trying to hold on, control, manage, manipulate the deck chairs on the Titanic, but it's going down. And often the beginning of the crumbling of an empire, the beginning of the decadence, the decay of a society, of a relationship, of anything, you don't see it right away unless you're looking for it, until it's too late, until the system breaks down, until the channels just fail completely. And so we want to have a practice both to restart the channels, to turn the swamp into an oasis again, to open up the arteries of our life so that flow is happening again. But we also want to have a practice so that we never have to get hardening of the arteries, hardening of the heart, hardening of our heart, hardening of our spirit, right? So that we just no longer can circulate life. And so this is the practice to begin to reclaim our divine inheritance, because life is never holding anything back from us. We hold ourselves back from life. Life is not happening to us. It has to happen through and as us. So whatever's missing in our life, and I mean ever, is what we're not giving, what we're not allowing to circulate from us, through us, and as us, right? That's the only place we need to keep serving and honoring, is our inner yes, our inner source, our inner spark, and serve that. That is the divine feminine. That is the source, and at its root, it is chaotic. It is pure, wild, creative life. The masculine is the structure, and it's a dance between the two. But we don't serve structure and form first. We serve life first. We serve love first. We serve our truth first. And then we create the forms and structures that support it. And so whatever you're facing right now, maybe it's the breakdown of a relationship. It's the shattering of some dream. It's the breakdown of a job or your economic situation or your physical situation. It's the loss of a loved one or the loss of an opportunity or the loss of innocence, which many of us are going through. That's a shattering of a structure or a form that you believed was your source of life or love or opportunity or safety or security. the form of your job, the form of your money, the form of your body, the form of your relationship. Love, support, security, power, worth, confidence. We've put all of these into the forms. We've made graven images and false idols, and then we worship them. We worship the economy. We worship our job. We worship our partners. And I don't mean in the good sense. We worship the forms of life, and we've cut ourselves off from life itself. So when the form shatters, it breaks, it seems like we've lost something. And it seems like we have less. And then unless we understand what's really happening, we either cling to the memory of the form, as in trauma, as in grief and regret or resentment. We're still in our mind living, even though it's gone in the other form, and we're clinging to it. Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Why can't that come back? Why can't he come back or she come back? Why did they do that so wrong? Why? Why me? Why them? Why this? So we're clinging, even though it's gone. It's happened. Or we are extending into a future which doesn't exist and going, if only this would happen, or if only I could do that, or if only I could get that, if only I could change that into that, then I'll have the love, the joy, the peace, the abundance, the safety, security. You follow what I'm saying? Or the form in front of us that is falling apart or that is needing to be like, we're holding on, we're clinging, we're manipulating, we're controlling, and saying, if I can just control this, then I'll still have love, I'll still have joy, I'll still have security, support, safety. Or if I can just control this, I won't lose the love, the security, the safety, the support. You follow me? So that's living in the simulation of the mind, the past, the future, or the present conditions, which is memory, fantasy, and imagination. And we're holding on to it, whether it's a mental form or a physical form or an emotional form. And we're cutting ourselves off from life itself and instead worshiping idols of life forms. And when that's happening, when you're experiencing a loss or a crisis, what you want to do instead, if you want to be connected to life, to the real source of your divine inheritance, is you want to pray the prayer, more than I want to fix, change, heal, manipulate, manage, or control this. I want to know the truth that makes me free. I want to have an ever deeper connection of the source, the real source of my life, the real source of creation. I want to be an instrument of life and of love, of truth, more than I want to fix, change, heal, control, manipulate, or maneuver or navigate with conditions, more than I want to save my life. I want to lose my life for the sake of the higher truth within me, the Christ, the Buddha, the Atman, the Tao, more than I want to hold on to anything, control anything, fix, change, or heal anything. I want to wake up to the thing that never dies, to the thing that I can never lose, to the divine source of all creation. And I want to be an instrument of it. I want to wake up. I want to feel it. I want to live and move and have my being in it. So that's the start. Some version of that prayer or intention, which is another way of saying what Jesus said. Stop taking thought for your life. Stop taking anxious thought for tomorrow. Stop worrying about how you're going to get this or get rid of that or heal this or add that. Instead, seek first the kingdom of heaven, which he said was within you. Seek first the kingdom of heaven within you, and all of those things will be added unto you. They're the byproducts. Those are the symbols of life. They're not life itself. Life itself, real love, the real meat, wine, water, and bread of life is within you. It's spiritual substance. It's the substance of your consciousness. It's that pure connection to life itself, the qualities of love, peace, joy, beauty, and abundance, not the forms of love, peace, joy, beauty, and abundance. Abundance is a quality of your being. It's not dollar bills. Love is a quality of your being. It's not in that person. Joy is a quality of your being. It's not in that condition. But when you're living and activating love, peace, joy, and abundance, it manifests as the fruit or the symbol or the form of those qualities, called dollars and people, principalities and princes, cabbages and kings, stocks and bonds. And there's nothing wrong with the symbols. They're beautiful. It's like a work of art. It's a symbolic expression of something real. It's not the real thing. A photograph, a symbolic expression of something real. It's not the real thing. The menu is not the food. The map is not the territory. Nothing that you can touch, taste, measure is the real thing. It's an expression. It's a relative perception and projection of the infinite perfection. The real thing is inside of your being. Real life, real love, real health, real wealth, real joy, real peace, real power, real confidence. These are spiritual qualities of your being. These are the treasures stored up in you. And when you desire those more than anything, you will find them. Seek and you shall find. Ask and you will receive the answer. Knock and the door will be opened. But what are you seeking? Where are you seeking? Where are you knocking? Are you knocking on the door of your heart and soul? Or are you knocking on the door outside? Are you seeking the answers and the sources and the qualities that you want in someone or something? Or are you seeking them in the only place they can be found, within you? So you have to set that intention. And then you have to practice that. So when that, like for example, when my son passed, besides the initial, and even right away, because of my practice, my first response, besides no, was thank you, God. I bless everything. I'm grateful for everything. No, this can't be happening. Thank you, God. Now, it wasn't a form of denial or spiritual bypass. It was an automatic activation of a prayer I'd been praying for years. And then throughout it, I let myself feel all the feelings. I met them. I held them. The pain, the grief, the sorrow, the agony, the loss. I met them. I held them. It's energy in motion, emotion. And then holding and witnessing, I allowed it to move through me as it's meant to, and allowed it to take me deeper into my intention. More than I want to fix, change, heal, or control anything, I want to know the truth that makes me free here. I want to be an ever pure instrument of love and life and truth. I want to know the real nature of my relationship. I want to know the real nature of love. I want to know the real Father and the real Son. And that continued to purify me and allow me to have insight and allow me to have connection. And then out of that, poems arose, and I'm going to read one of them today. Out of that, creativity arose. Out of that, my heart was cracked open instead of sealed shut. And I loved more. I loved more deeply. And I was able to receive more love and to receive it more deeply. And it's continued to, as the business challenges from the economy right now, instead of holding on to the way it's been and cursing the conditions, it's what's the truth? What's the vision trying to emerge here? Thank you, God. I bless everything. I'm grateful for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. I love every part of my body and my life, and everything is working exactly as it should. Not as a spiritual bypass, not to avoid the feelings. I meet the feelings. You meet the poison, and it becomes medicine. It becomes an antidote. The energy in motion is transmuted. You don't try to fix it or change it. You meet it. That's life itself trying to flow through you, but it appears as pain and suffering because it's coming through the filters of separation and lack and the old cherished stories and identities and structures that are no longer viable. So it appears as a destruction. It appears as a conflagration, a forest fire. But the forest fire, like it does for the jack pine, is burning open the canopy of your consciousness. It's fertilizing the soil and the soil of your soul and the ground of your being, and it's melting the hard glue around the seed pod so that more seeds of life can be released and your life can continue to evolve. So you need a forest fire sometimes. You need to come up against a place where you have no control. You need to let life move through you and do its work. And then what emerges is new insight. But you want to do that with the intention of all of this being used so that you may awaken, so that you may know the true nature of love and wealth and health and life and joy, so that you may commune more fully with those qualities, not less. So you're not acquiescing to the condition. All right, let it burn me up, let it destroy me. Not just that, it's more than I want to control any of this. I want to wake up to the true nature of my being. I want to know love and joy and peace and abundance and health like never before and be an ever clearer instrument of it. All right, now let it do its work. You follow? And then you sit with it. You journal about it. You become contemplative with it. And you continue to let it move through you with that intention and those questions. And as you do that, what's most key is where your attention is and what your intention is on a higher frequency. It's on love. It's on joy. It's on beauty and abundance and possibility, rather than when you're trying to solve a problem or control, manipulate, navigate, or fight it, where's your attention? It's on the frequency of lack and limitation, fear, doubt, worry, stress, and struggle. So that's what you get more of. But even in the midst of breakdown and loss and challenge, if your intention is on, I want to know more love, peace, joy, beauty, abundance, wisdom, use me, open me, make me a greater instrument of it, that's the frequency you're activating. Because you can't solve a problem, as Einstein said, at the level of the problem. You can only dissolve the problem. The problem dissolves as you evolve. And you evolve by taking on an evolutionary point of view, by taking on an evolutionary position and perception. And evolution is always opening to what's the larger life trying to emerge. And that's how it evolves. What's the yes? Where's more life trying to emerge? How can more life emerge? What is the highest vision of my life? Even and especially in the midst of crisis. Because that's where the mutation happens. That's where evolution occurs. Does this make sense? All right, so I want to read you a poem, and I'm going to continue to share these insights, as they unfold. So stay tuned in Facebook, like the page if you're on Facebook listening to this. Check out the podcast, Emergence, on iTunes. Check out YouTube for the video so you can get the videos, get the podcasts, whatever you need to support you. I've got it in a lot of different ways. Because sometimes it's really important to listen again or watch again, because there's a frequency being activated here and there are specific tools. And it's a download. So you can just continue to be activated and inspired, and you pick up something new each time you listen or watch. And then it's really important, comment here. What's your evolutionary edge, or what is the challenge you're facing, and what is the quality you want to activate more of? Share that. That's the first stage of activation. That's the first stage of intention, by sharing it, by speaking it. And then together, the collective galvanizes that and further activates and accelerates its emergence. Okay? So I'm going to read this poem. It's called Our Divine Inheritance. It's something I wrote during this very difficult and tragic experience. But it applies to whatever challenge you're facing, to whatever structure or form has broken or shattered or is falling apart. And I have to look to read it, so I apologize if I'm not always looking right at you here. Our divine inheritance. All I have right now is love and grief, which I think is just more love. Too much love is almost worse than no love if you aren't big enough to hold it. I always knew I was in danger of loving too much because I could lose the object of my love. It's the greatest risk and the greatest reward to love with your whole being. But what if the object of my love wasn't the source of it? What if the object of my love was a vessel that held it in a sacred trust? And when the vessel shatters or erodes or dies, it returns all the love I gave, compounded, by all the years and all the ways I loved. If that's true, and I think it might be, then I haven't lost anything. In fact, my investment has multiplied and I'm richer than ever before. I am a rich man indeed. Not like the rich man who can't enter heaven. He can't because he loves the objects and believes they are his source. He possesses them, controls them, seeks more and more of them, believing they are his wealth. So his real riches remain locked up in a place he cannot access. He is a poor man indeed. He has laid up his treasures on earth where moths and rust can corrupt, and thieves can break in and steal. With every day he holds on to them, they diminish in value. But if he lays up his treasure in heaven, where moth and rust cannot corrupt, where thieves cannot break in and steal, if he lays up his treasure in his heart, then his wealth grows. What if it's true that all the love we give and all the years and all the ways we love is our greatest and only true investment? And if we invest our entire heart in this sacred offering, holding on to nothing but the love, we are building a trust that will return to us more than anything the world can ever give, and something the world can never take away. Prove me now in this, saith the Lord, and I will open up the windows of heaven and pour forth a blessing too big to receive. I think I'm starting to get it. If we keep loving in the midst of pain and sorrow, if we keep loving in the midst of suffering and loss, if we keep loving, even in the face of death and destruction, all of God's bounty will be ours, and we will receive our divine inheritance at last. We will become heirs to the kingdom and all of its heavenly riches. But there's a disclaimer. As with all investments, it's risky. So check your tolerance for risk. And it's a long-term investment strategy. You can't keep selling off every time you take a loss. You must stay fully invested. Through all the ups and downs, don't close your account or close your heart for anything or anyone, ever. So I have a question. Will you invest in this with me? We could form a partnership and grow our investment bigger than anyone has ever seen, and have more than enough love to share with the whole world. If you're interested, please sign your name below, comment, and say you're in. I love and appreciate you. I am with you. You are in my heart and my prayers on a daily basis. We are in this together, folks. You don't have to hold it all together. As my great friend Sierra says, we have to hold it all together. I love you, and until next time, remember to live authentically, to love unconditionally, and to follow your destiny. Take care.